here. And people ask me many of the same questions, so I'm going to answer them for you here tonight. The first is, what are my qualifications? I'm a Utah attorney who's been representing Utah clients in Utah courts for 20 years. I spent 7 years at the Attorney General's office as a civil rights litigator, handling some of the most significant cases in our state's history. Now I'm the director of the Utah Division of Risk Management, which is the coolest state agency you've never heard of. We work on all the hardest, all the craziest cases, litigation, and claims you could ever hear of. Anything from a freezer full of eyeballs that melted, if you want to know how much that's worth, it's $1.5 million, to the saddest cases involving injuries, death, and sexual assault. I've been sitting with the hard, heavy work for the state of Utah for over a decade. And the second question then is, why am I running? So I'll tell you first how I told my husband that I'm selling this, and then I'll tell you the real reason. I said, Justin, I want to apply for a super cool job, and I'm going to have to ask strangers for money to get it. And then if I get the job, everyone's going to be really mean to me. He said, that sounds awesome, let's do it. And that's why he's at Wasatch, getting ready to give a speech for me. That is not his scene. The real reason is I love this work. I've been doing it for a decade. Much of what I'm doing right now is very similar to what the Attorney General will do. I work on cases. I live in the law and litigation. I work on settlements. I work on policy. I work on budgeting. I work on all of the things that you need your Attorney General to be able to do, and I'm really good at it. And when I say I'm a fiscal conservative, I mean it. I've already cut $3 million from my budget. I work at the governor's office and the legislature to create an entirely new program that will save you tens of millions of dollars. The third question everyone asks, thank you. I think it's a big deal, guys. It's a big deal. Thank you. The third question is, should the Attorney General be appointed? What do you think? No. All right, it's a dumb idea, and we're not going to do it, and I will fight any effort to take away your voice. The fourth question is, am I getting signatures? No. Delegates, not dollars, should decide who moves on to the next round of interviews. I'm a conventional delegate. And finally, who's supporting me? I'm endorsed by Attorney General Ken Paxton, sheriffs across the state, county commissioners, city managers, city officials, the Washington County attorney, and many others. And one other that I'm grateful for is former General Brian Target. And why am I running? Because when I fight for Utah, Utah wins. So I'm Rachel Terry, thank you.
I'm Frank Myler, I'm a runner for Attorney General. My wife of 36 years, Debbie, is back here, and my youngest of 5 children, Rebecca, is also back there. And I also have 5 grandchildren. And honestly, that's one of the reasons I'm running for Attorney General, is I'm the only candidate, and you can mark this down, that has actually been in the trenches, fighting in the courts, constitutional issues for people just like you. Nobody else on this stage has done that. I've been doing it day in and day out on just about every important constitutional issue there is. Just a couple weeks ago, someone called me up and said, Frank, we need you to file a case to fight federal encroachment in the U.S. Supreme Court. I'm filing it this week. No one's going to the other candidates and say, hey, help me with this constitutional issue. Everyone likes to say they're constitutional attorneys. The question is, talk is cheap. What have you really done in the trenches? I'm endorsed by most of the sheriffs in the state, Weber County Attorney and other county attorneys as well. I'm endorsed by the American Moms, and I'm also won the endorsement of the Veterans GOP the other day. I'm gaining endorsements as we go along, as more people get to know the facts of this race, and that is that it's substance over just good speaking. Do not be fooled by good speeches. This is a substance position where you need an attorney that really knows what in the world they're doing. And you can, I call it trusted experience, because I've been working with the Alliance Defending Freedom for over 20 years. I'm an honor guard attorney with that organization. When COVID came, they came to me and said, Frank, we need you to help fight for religious exemptions to the vaccine. I fought for everyone, and by God's grace, we won every one of them, including for my daughter, Rachel. I've also in the trenches fought for pro-life issues day in and day out. They call me all the time for pro-life issues. When people were prosecuted in Salt Lake City for merely exercising their free speech rights on a sidewalk in front of an abortion clinic, I defended them in court at trial. We won. I never charged them a dime. This is the key. Look at what they've done in the trenches when they weren't being paid. That shows the mark of an attorney. As a legislator, you look at what they've done in the past. As an attorney, you look at what cases they fought in the courts. I will continue fighting for women's sports, fighting for bathrooms with no exemptions for children and for everyone, and also be fighting the feds because I've been doing it the last 36 years. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Derek Brown. I appreciate you being here and running for Attorney General. I appreciate these other great candidates who are running, and I also appreciate our state party or the county party leadership. I served as the state party chair for a number of years. Actually, it was during COVID. It was a rather rough couple of years. I was 6'2" when I got elected, and you see what happened. Well, we actually used to joke that Republicans were an endangered species in your county. So thank you for doing what you do. I know you're on the front lines of the battle. I've seen it. Being party chair was actually sort of a full-time free job, and one of the reasons that I'm running for Attorney General is because we have a problem. It's a problem that you all know and we know, and it's called federal encroachment into Utah. Federalism is the most important check that we have as a state. It's one of the most oft-forgotten checks that we have as a state. Let me just put this in perspective. We have, as a country, the real power in this country is being exercised by mid-level bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., and we need an Attorney General who knows how to push back against that. And let me tell you a little bit, just to put it in perspective. I used to work, I was in the House of Representatives. I left when I was asked by my former law partner and law colleague, Senator Lee, to run his Utah offices. I mean, is there anything we couldn't do in this country if we had 50 Senator Lees in office? Really? So Senator Lee, he's endorsed me in this race. This is the only race that I know of that he's engaged in. But as you walk in his DC office, let me just put this in perspective. We had a cabinet there. Have any of you ever been to his office in DC? And a few of you, when you walk in, there's this cabinet. On top of the cabinet, it was every law passed by Congress the previous year, about 600 pages. In the cabinet was every agency regulation issued during the same year. Roughly 60,000 pages. So for every one page of laws Congress passes, there are 100 pages of regulations. This is how the Biden administration advances a climate agenda, right? You saw what the EPA did with mandating hybrid and electric cars a few weeks ago. This is where we're going as a country, and we need an Attorney General who will push back. And let me just close by saying this. A number of years ago, the Supreme Court issued an opinion in a case, and I actually did not like it. As a conservative, I hated the opinion because it dealt with the Obamacare ruling. But here's what it said. It was Chief Justice Roberts who made this comment, and he said, states are separate and independent sovereigns. Sometimes they need to act like it. Yeah. My friends, that's why I'm running to be AG. Utah needs an Attorney General who knows how to help Utah act like the sovereign it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Summit County Republicans. My name is Trent Christensen. I'm running for Utah Attorney General. I am an America First candidate. I am a constitutional conservative. I am a convention-only candidate, and as your next Attorney General, I am going to drain the Salt Lake Swamp. Let me tell you what I mean by that. We have a culture of corruption in this state, not just the federal government, but in this state, because we have an utter lack of election integrity in this state, and that's what I'm going to do on day one. We've heard about it. We've heard about the governor's attempt to appoint the attorney general. But let me tell you why that's so important. I have to take a little brief issue with something that was just said. Federalism is not the most important check against the federal government. The attorney general is the most important check, most powerful check you have against the state, against the federal government, against the county governments. That is the most important check against the other branches and officers of government. But it only works if it's an attorney general that's willing to stand up and throw those punches. So let me tell you what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to tell you how I'm going to do it. The first thing I'm going to do, election integrity. We are going to start on day one a full statewide audit of Utah's electoral system. I'm going to look at the ballots, the mail-in ballots, the machines. I'm going to talk about the county clerk, I'm going to talk about the staff. We are going to find out what's happening in the state, and then I'm going to bring it to you. And you and I are going to go together in the legislature, and we're going to say, this is working, this is what is working, and these are the people that need to go to jail, and we're going to fix it right now. Number two, I'm going to be the top cop. Okay, the Attorney General, you all know this, is the chief legal enforcement officer in the state, but that does not make him it does not make him the state's attorney, it makes him your attorney against the power of the state when necessary. I've said it time and again, the county sheriffs, who are the only members of law enforcement that are popularly elected by you, they are the tip of the spear, but the Attorney General is the spear, and they have to work together to enforce your individual rights. Right now, there's no relationship, really, between the State Attorney General's office and those that enforce your individual rights, the county sheriffs. I will repair that relationship so that we can go out and secure our border and keep your family safe. That's number three. I will not allow my children or yours to grow up in a state that acts like a sanctuary state, that allows illegals into our state, that allows fentanyl to go freely up and down I-15. That will stop with the Trent Christensen administration. Now, let me tell you how I'm going to do those things, okay? That's a vision of what needs to happen in the future. And it's based off the experience that I have in the past. We've heard a lot about experience. I have experience. I grew up in Salt Lake. I went to BYU Law School. I graduated top 10% of my class. I went back east to practice law, complex business litigation, appellate litigation, and I did pro bono work protecting parental rights, protecting parents to get their kids back when the state comes and steals them to enforce their own agenda. That's what I've done. And unless you have fought the state, not just fought for the state, but literally fought against the state, you don't know the power and the resources the federal government has to come for you. I do, and that's how I'm going to fix it for you. Yeah. Thank you. Now, the most important thing, I have 4 kids, 14 to 12. I will not allow them or your kids to grow up in a state that acts like California and becomes California in 5 or 10 years. I will not let them grow up in a sanctuary state. I will not let them grow up in a state where the federal government can come in with impunity, take our lands, take our rights, and then tell us that we ought to be grateful for the opportunity, okay? I will do that as your Attorney General. If you want to see a contrast between all 4 of us, go to TrentChristensen.com and look at the debate that happened last month. There was a debate, all 4 of us were there, it was great. Go look at it, TrentChristensen.com. I think you'll vote for me, and I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Hello to, let's see, where are we tonight? We are in Summit County. All right, I'm Tina Horlocker, and I'm running to your Republican National Committee woman. And I would like to ask you, why are you a Republican? For myself, I will tell you the reasons why I feel like I'm a Republican, at least the most important parts. We are the party of the Declaration of Independence, which sets forth fundamental precepts of American government. That God bestows certain inalienable rights on every individual. The government exists first and foremost to protect those inalienable rights. That if those rights come into conflict with man-made law, inalienable rights always prevail. Moral law is recognized as the laws of nature and of nature's God. We're also the party of the Constitution, the greatest political document ever written. And we are far from both of these documents. These words found in our platform are fundamental to both our party and our nation, and it proves that from our birth, we have been a Christian nation. I'm a Republican because I'm a mother of 10 children, and I want the future of my children and my 4 grandchildren to be one nation under God that is prosperous, protected, and a land of liberty. Most certainly, America is under attack, and with it, the Christian faith. Biden's declaration on Easter Sunday was further proof of this. The last 4 years have been a literal takedown of the bulwarks of our liberty. If we do not stand up to the onslaught, all will be lost. The RNC is a private political party that is meant to function as a watchdog. They have been failing as their only priority is to get Republicans elected. I sit in many meetings where we talk about getting Republicans elected, but let me ask, what good does it do to get Republicans elected when those Republicans go and vote like Democrats? The party has not been representing you, and it has not been representing me, and it needs to be reformed. With new leadership and a solid committee, reform is possible. Why I am running for the Republican National Committee woman is because I have been prepared for this moment. I have all of the needed skills and qualifications to be your next committee woman. But what is more important is that I have proven that I will stand up and stand out against the Marxist agenda adopted by the Democrat Party and the global elites, which is undermining our nation and robbing us of our liberties. How will I do this?